Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. For the first time in history, we have a president that's been convicted of a felony. Now, the question is, can Donald J. Trump still run for president with a guilty conviction for a felony? Can Donald J. Trump still run for president with a conviction for a felony? Period. First time our president has been found guilty. Sit back, enjoy the ride. I'm going to break this down. Everything is not about Diddy, the social media, have you brainwashed and have you going down a portal where you're not even paying attention. Martin Luther King gave his life to fight for the civil rights for us to have the right to vote as black people. Let's get this thing started. All right, pay attention, man. Y'all need to listen. All right. All right, you know what it is. All right. Our president has been convicted of a felony, and I'm going to break it down as far as can he still run for president? Can Donald Trump still run for president? Now, let's start from the beginning. Trump was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection with hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels near the end of the 2016 election. They were saying that he was hiding the money. You know what I mean? He was trying to suppress the story from going out to the public. That's what he was accused of. All right, so I'm going to say that again. Trump was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in connection with the hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels near the end of the 2016 election, period, right? That was in New York State. Trump is looking at between a fine, probation, or 4 years in jail in New York State for his crime. Will he get that? I doubt it. But can he get that? Yes, he can get that. Trump will appeal this before his sentencing on July 11th. That's 4 days before the Republican Party nominate their congressional nominee for president. Our president will have been sentenced 4 days before. I wonder if that was political or did they put it into place? Put that in the comments. Let's go. All right? Trump will appeal his sentence, like I said, 4 days before the nomination for the Republican Party. Can you put a former president that is running for office in jail along with the Secret Service to go with him? Because you know he has the Secret Service for the rest of his life. So now if Trump go to jail, would they put the Secret Service in jail to protect him? Because we already know. We do a lot of prison stories, so you already know John Gotti, everybody's in there, the Unabomber, you know what I mean? Everybody was in prison. And, you know, it gets real rough in prison. You got the bag, they coming at you. We talking about a billionaire. Do you think they'll go with Donald Trump for the bag if he was to go in prison? Y'all speak on that. You know what I mean? Do you think they would go with Donald Trump for the bag? Would they let the Secret Service go in prison with him if he goes? Now, that's what I want to know, right? So, legally, there is no bar on Donald J. Trump running for office. The Constitution sets very minimum requirements to run for president, right? Now, the main two is that you just have to be over 35 years of age and you have to be a natural born citizen. Those are the two requirements for running for president. You have to be over 35 and you have to be a natural born citizen. There is nothing about these charges or offenses that would disqualify Donald J. Trump from running or serving as the president for the United States, right? This is uncharted territory for a presidential nominee. We never had this before in American history, right? Let me take y'all on a ride. All right, we're going to ride. Now, when the framers of the Constitution framed the Constitution, they never envisioned a president being found guilty of a crime or a felony much less being convicted or sentenced for a felony. So nowhere is it written. So that's why they took it to the Supreme Court last year when Colorado was saying that he wasn't allowed on the ballot. And the Supreme Court ruled that being that, the state does not govern the feds, that one state can't bar him from running in their state, because if they barred him from running in their state, then that would set precedent, because it's coming from the Supreme Court to break it down so that, other states could now say the Supreme Court said and keep him off the ballot. Then there's no way he would be able to win if, you get 5 states or even 1 state where they don't count the ballot, because we already know the last election was very close. So this is what we're dealing with. The Supreme Court ruled that a state cannot determine or dictate the outcome of a presidential, election. Now, when they make these laws, so you understand, the Supreme Court make a law, and then you get these real sharp, intelligent lawyers that their job and what they're paid for is to twist it up to make it fit what your client is trying to overcome. So they put their best story forward. Some trying to explain that he should be able to run. Some trying to explain that he shouldn't be able to run. You understand? So, like I said, this is uncharted territory right here that we're dealing with. Trump new home state, right? Trump new home state of Florida. It bars anyone with that's convicted of a state felony from voting, since he is convicted in New York, right, and not Florida, because state law bars you from running if you're convicted of a felony in the state of Florida. But that does not apply to Donald J. Trump, so he can actually vote for himself in the state of Florida because he was not convicted in the state of Florida. Do y'all understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? I'm breaking this down real simple, so y'all make sure you share this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and like this video and keep this thing moving. Now, so you understand, he'll likely be able to vote for himself, unless he's in prison on election day. If he's in prison on election day, then he can't vote, because you can't vote while you're in prison. Now, if Trump is to become president, he will not be allowed to pardon himself because he was convicted of a state case in New York State, so he can't pardon himself from that case. But if he's found guilty in Georgia with Fannie Willis, that's why they're trying to get her off, because she got her fangs in him, If he's found guilty down there, then he could pardon himself, because that's a federal case they're charging him with. But in the state, I think that is a federal case. Y'all put in the comments, you rat bastards. I like to just leave things in the air to get the rat bastards something to talk about. Let's give them a gunshot. All right, and this is what we're going to do, right? Because this is a real serious issue. We're going to give y'all 3 seconds to tap out. 3 seconds for the rat bastards to get off my channel. All right, and you already know the routine. Take that with you on the way out. All right? Because like everybody is trying to, root for the downfall of the men that made it, Now, legal experts are baffled, right? You hear that word? Legal experts are baffled. A felony conviction can prevent Trump from buying guns in many states and even joining the military to fight for the United States. A felony conviction can bar Trump from buying guns or fighting in the United States, like joining the military. So you understand? But it don't bar him from running for president. Y'all put in the comments how much sense that made. Did you hear what I just said? He can't buy a gun, and he can't join the military, but he could run for president. You see how crazy this is? All right, just so y'all understand, where we at. Now, this has never happened before in the history of the United States. So this is uncharted territory, so y'all better pay attention to the words that are coming out of Unique Mecca audio mouth, and subscribe, like, and share this video. Now, the theory of the Constitution and the democracy is that the people get to choose who holds office in the United States for the president of the United States. That's the theory and the purpose of the Constitution and being in a democratic society. So you understand. Many ask, right? Many people ask if the 14th Amendment would prevent a run, for president. But a recent Supreme Court ruling has determined that amendment does not make Trump ineligible to appear on the ballot. The Supreme Court said that does not prevent Trump from appearing on the ballot. Y'all paying attention to this? Many ask, like I said, if the 14th Amendment would prevent Trump from a run for president. A recent Supreme Court ruling has determined that amendment does not make Trump ineligible to appear on the ballot to run for president. But he cannot buy a gun in many states, and he cannot even fight for the United States in the military. Somebody explain that to me and give me your legal definition of that. That does not mean that some lawyers in some states won't try to find a way around the Supreme Court ruling, right? You understand? Now, you can't sit here, so you fully understand. You can't sit here and think that when they make a law that this is it. No, you got the legal mind and you got what they call yin and yang. You got positive and negative, up and down, left and right. So there's always a different angle you could go with, and lawyers are paid to find and create an angle that will put them in a place to be able to overcome what their client is trying to do. So Trump has the best lawyers trying to figure out and trying to battle any legal expert that's going to try and put it in put in a motion or amendment or whatever to prevent him from running for president in their state. The Supreme Court ruled that states do not have the legal authority to regulate a federal election. Now, the Supreme Court said that the states do not have the authority to regulate a federal election. That's what they did and made that ruling last year when Colorado said they was keeping Donald Trump off the ballot. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has spoken now. Legal experts have to make it fit, keeping them off the ballot or keeping them on the ballot, right? If you take from that ruling, you may say nothing can keep him off the ballot in 2024 for that reason, right? Right or wrong, right? But lawyers are paid to be creative and push the law to the legal brink. In other words, right, to make what they call new law, which means precedent. Not president, precedent. Precedent means it's the first time that someone has raised that argument in the courts and it becomes law for the land. So the Supreme Court has spoken and they made law for the land. But lawyers, like I said, they're paid to be creative and, push the law, right? If Trump is in jail, the party can still nominate him, and the people, right, can still vote for Donald J. Trump to be seated in the White House. Now, the court said that a federal election should be run and decided by the feds and not the state, but did not consider if the candidate has a conviction. Because this has never happened in American jurisprudence, as they call it. You see, I'm giving you all these words, jurisprudence. So that's what's going on with that, so you pay attention. Now, what do you think, right? What do you think of this issue? Should Donald J. Trump still be allowed to run for president of the United States, being that he was convicted in a court of law for a felony? Would you vote for Donald Trump still? Why or why not wouldn't you vote for Donald Trump? Now, let me ride. Let me ride. I just gave y'all 15 good minutes of breaking down the law. So this is what's going on, so you understand, right? The justice system, just like everything else, is not perfect. Donald Trump says it's broken, and a lot of people say it's broken. You know what I mean? I got to agree with Donald Trump on that it's broken. I got locked up in 1993 and went to prison from 1993 to 2020, doing the war on drugs. Had no violence in my case whatsoever. I just had drugs. Yes, I poisoned my community, and then I apologize to my community and all the viewers that's watching, but I did 26 years in federal prison and self-rehabilitated myself. For 26 years, Washington and the Justice Department didn't want to look at nothing. All they wanted to do was take the black man out of society, kill his vote, tear apart the families, and have what we have now. And they didn't expect that, which is they called us super predators during the crack era. I wonder what they're going to call these young gangbangers that's out here killing each other because us as so-called super predators was incarcerated and wasn't out here to raise our children. And the mothers had to go to work. Social media came about, MySpace and, you know, all that crap. And the kids fell into watching that. And then you had the video games come out, Grand Theft Auto, where they're shooting up everything and you see the blood spill and all this going on. And that took our children, my children, our children, into this viral spiral. And that's what I'm trying to prevent here, Unique Mecca Audio. But let me say this, right? While Washington locked us up and threw away the key and had us in there for decades, I filed over 100 motions, or approximately 100 motions, for you rat bastards and flip-flop wearing and public trolls. Pull my transcripts and you will see everything that I filed. I lost everything. But the whole time, it didn't discourage me. I continued the program. I became a certified cook, certified culinary arts. I became a certified mechanic, certified electrician, certified HVAC and refrigeration, and a certified electrician. And I learned 3,500 hours of psychological training to find out why I poisoned my community and why I stand on this street code that I wouldn't tell on the man or men that murdered my brother and gave him 2 shots to the head, and I wouldn't even assist them in apprehending the men, women, or whoever it was that tied up, kidnapped, pistol whipped, and tortured my own mother. I know that's twisted to you. If it's twisted to you, that means you're normal, because I know I'm not normal. I know I'm supposed to, you know, help with, you know, whoever killed my brother's supposed to help with whoever pistol whipped, tortured my mother. But there's a code of honor on the street. There's morals and principles on the street. And as much as you say, you know, these rat bastards, they quick to come on here and they'll make comments and they'll say crazy stuff like, you know, anybody go to jail? I can't even think like a rat bastard right now, because right now I'm just trying to enlighten you, but I'm going to catch it in a second. Just give me a minute to take a deep breath, right? Now, they come on here and they say things like, you know, there's no honor among thieves. That's what it is. They say there's no honor among thieves. Yes, there is honor. I honored the code of the street and I didn't assist in bringing down my enemies that went at my brother and my mother because the government didn't assist me in selling drugs. They wasn't my co-defendant in selling drugs, so they can't get me out of a problem that I got into for selling drugs. Those was my choices, so I must deal with the consequences, whether good or bad, of my choices. And that don't mean running to the government. Don't that sound twisted to y'all? See, that's normal to me. If it's twisted to y'all, you on the right path, and I'm glad you hear Unique Mecca Audio. That's why I tell you, go to school, get a trade, get an education. I couldn't read or write when I went to prison. I didn't learn to read and write until they sent me to 88 Supermax. Underground in Florence, Colorado, is where I learned to read and write, and I got my GED. See, Donald Trump made history being the first president that was convicted of a felony, won, and then now he's running for president, and he's going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. I made history because I didn't get my GED until they put me in the most secure prison in the United States. I programmed my ass off by choice because I wanted to better myself. Let me ride. When I went to sentence, I stood in front of the Honorable Raymond A. Jackson. That was my judge. The first black judge. They brought a black judge up to sentence, to deal with my trial, because before that, Gene Oscar, and Franz Oscar, two brothers, Haitian brothers, as a matter of fact, from Brooklyn, went down there and they had the death penalty, and they got found guilty of the crime, but they beat the death penalty because the jury said that the trial felt like a modern day lynching without an elevator. That it was all these white people, and we got to give Gene Oscar and his crew a round of applause, man. I know y'all don't like that, you rat bastards, but I got to give them a round of applause. Let me explain to you about Gene Oscar, right? Let me explain to you about Gene Oscar and Franz Oscar. These two Haitian brothers, when they went to trial, every single one of their co-defendants, if I'm not mistaken, it was 12 of them, they all took it to what we call the door. They went to trial. They went to trial. Not one of them flipped on each other. That was precedent in the United States, because you always got rat bastards amongst the crew. But anyway, Gene and Franz Oscar, they blew trial. They said it seemed like a lynching, a modern day lynching, but with an elevator instead of a horse sticking a black man up to put the rope around his neck. You understand? So what Virginia did was they went and got a black judge, which was the Honorable Raymond A. Jackson, and brought him up to make precedent in the Tidewater area by making Honorable Raymond A. Jackson the first black federal judge in that district. Round of applause to Raymond A. Jackson. Round of applause to Raymond A. Jackson. All right? Now I'm going to give it to you real. Calm down, y'all. Calm down. Raymond A. Jackson came in, he handled my trial. He at the time, they was on uncharted territory as far as dealing with trials for people with CCE, which is kingpins, right? Just so you understand. I was charged with a CCE, a kingpin charge. So when I went in, they said that, they could find me guilty of anything that was said in the trial, but the statute was written that they had to be specific and unanimous about which 3 drug violations I violated. I never had any drug violations in the United States of America that was a felony that could put me in jail. So I didn't have the 3 violations, so I wasn't qualified under the statute to be a kingpin, and I fought that for 26 years. Right? Raymond A. Jackson said, no, it don't matter. We can find you guilty for whatever they said, because it was your drugs, you the leader, you the king, you the pin, you the everything. And now once he did that, they found me guilty. It went to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court overturned the Fourth Circuit's ruling because the appellate court also stood with the Honorable Raymond A. Jackson. So now I said my case is overturned. I run back, file a motion, I know I'm going home. They respond back and said, you're right, you should go home. The Supreme Court overturned your case, but it was Eddie Richardson case from Chicago against the Disciple case that was in front of them, and the prosecution used your case as the precedent to hold Eddie Richardson. So the Supreme Court had to rule on your case while Eddie Richardson's docket number was in front of them, not your docket number. So even though the Supreme Court overturned your case in order to clarify Eddie Richardson's case, we still can't give you nothing because we don't have jurisdiction for the same thing that's going on now with Donald J. Trump running for president, because they never anticipated that type of situation where the Supreme Court makes a ruling to overturn a conviction that would put a man on the street. You understand what I'm saying? Under my circumstances. So now here I go, all right? I'm filing motions. Honorable Raymond A. Jackson denying me. But I met him when I got sentenced. When I got sentenced, I made a deal with my judge. I told him straight up. They asked if you got anything to say. That's when I was supposed to say, oh, I'm going to come from Jamaica. And I never get my first pair of shoes till my 7. And I did the hard up, in Brooklyn, in a crown nights. I run with the gully posse. I do this, I do that. At times it was hard. My family brought me out there, But instead of giving them the sympathy act, I made a deal with them as a man. I said, look, Send me someplace closer to home so I could further my education. So if something come down the pike later on, 10, 20 years from now, I could go home a better citizen and a better parent to my children. Prosecutor called me a scumbag and said I would never get out of jail. But look at me, I'm on YouTube and I got rat bastards that feel they're in my place to challenge me when I stood 10 toes down. Go check out my man 10 Toes Down. I think it's 500, you know what I mean, on YouTube. Good brother. You know, he holds people accountable. But, you know, that's a saying. I bigged him up because, you know, he picked the perfect name and you got to give it props. Get 10 Toes Down a round of applause. He picked the title. Calm down, y'all. Man, can I finish this so I can get about my day? Relax. He picked the title 10 Toes Down for his video, and that's what we say on the street. We stood 10 toes down and battled the government. Donald J. Trump just stood 10 toes down and battled the judge, the government. See, what it is that Donald J. Trump, he sees how the government is misused in different circumstances, in his opinion. The same way they misuse, the government misused the Justice Department to take us off the street with no violent crimes for the rest of our lives and said that we can't be rehabilitated. So when Donald J. Trump came into office, he filled out, he signed what they called the First Step Act. The First Step Act is if you could prove that, if you could show to your judge that you self-rehabilitated yourself, the judge have the power to look over what you have done for the X amount of decades that you was in prison and then make a decision if he feels that you should be released. But the government still has the right to oppose that. But Donald J. Trump gave the sole decision and discretion about your self-rehabilitation and being released for anyone that was arrested with crack cocaine, the judge to let us go. So when I stood in front of the judge, I told him I just want to go someplace closer to home, right? And so I can further my education. The judge said, you know what? There's nothing I could do for you unless you help the government, but I know you're not a rat bastard. You know what I mean? He said snitch, but I just added it, my new term, rat bastard. He said, I know you're not a snitch and you under the anti-snitch code that, you're not going to snitch. So we're not even going to talk to you about that. But only way I could help you, Unique, is if you work with the federal government. And he said, but I know you ain't going to do that. And I said, yo, just send me out of here, man. Let me get out of here. We ain't going to have this conversation. So they sent me to Lewisburg, right? And when I went to Lewisburg, I went angry and I allegedly got into it with 2 police, wound up in ADX. And then now I'm locked in a cell for 5 years, 23 hours a day lockdown. And while I'm locked in that cell, I'm thinking, man, I made a promise to this man, and I'm an honorable man, because that's how the street code is. You must honor your word. So I honored my word. I honored my word with the judge, and I self-rehabilitated myself. I took 3,500 hours of psychological training, so you understand, right? And to figure out why I'm screwed up. Why am I honoring this don't snitch code? But that's embedded in me. So I'm telling the youth, don't make the choices that I made. Do not make the choices that I made, because if you make the choices that I made, then you're going to have to make the choice if you want to tell or not tell. So I'm telling you now, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Don't even go there. You know what I mean? Stop it. Period. All right? So now, that's my message, is don't get involved in the street so you don't have to make the choice to be a rat bastard or not, because I don't want you to spend 26 years in federal prison like I did. So that's where we at, and that's what I'm trying to let you know right now. Donald Trump came in and he signed that, and that released me and so many other of my comrades. William Underwood, working with Cory Booker right now. Guy Fisher saved Apollo. Lou Sims, Farris, you know what I mean? Peter Shue, you know, I could go on with names. Big Kaz and Sea Dog in California. My man Booby from the Booby Boys trying to get out under it. But now that Donald Trump is no longer in office, they closed that portal that released so many of my comrades that's out here doing excellent work with the youth. And we need to get them out. So that's why I feel, my opinion, that Donald Trump needs to be in office, because he's the only one that looked out for the lost people of the so-called war on drugs that self-rehabilitate themselves. He didn't say just let anybody out of jail. You know? Listen, if Donald Trump wanted me to speak for him at his rally, I would be honored to do it, to let it be known that he is the one that single-handedly, and you rat bastards might not want to agree with it, but he's the one that single-handedly released us from prison because we self-rehabilitated ourselves and we got sentenced under what they call draconian sentences. So if y'all enjoying my program, y'all enjoying, you know, what Rick Ross is doing, because that's another kingpin. You know what I mean? There's so many of us. If y'all enjoying the services that we're giving back to our community after decades in prison because the Honorable Donald J. Trump signed into law the First Step Act that released us and reunited me with my children, I'm here with my mother, 89 years old, that never expected to see me a free man again, thanks to Donald Trump. So anybody that got anything to say about Donald Trump, I would tell them, look at me. They had me buried in prison to never come home. And this man freed me. This man freed me. And that's why I'm here with you. Been on here long enough, man. Where's that? Make sure you cop the book of Roaring Harlem. I don't even have it around me. Cop my book. It's on the screen. A Roaring Harlem at roaringharlem.com. Let's get this thing moving. All right? We're not going to do this. Let's keep it popping. All right?
Cheers. Cheers. Toast the crime. Toast the crime. The crime. The crime. The crime.
What? Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. Bruh. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. An Instagram page and a YouTube you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, make an audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horning uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now you trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community yours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the road men.